On 5 News, the unacceptable face of capitalism. MPs blame Sir Philip Green for the collapse of BHS. In a scathing report, they say the billionaire has a moral duty to plug the pensions black hole.
It wasn't a clapped-out business. He made it a clapped-out business, and it's collapsed around him, and his reputation has collapsed with him.
Also, Germany's on high alert after another violent attack. A failed asylum seeker who blew himself up had pledged allegiance to so-called Islamic State. Theresa May makes her first visit to Belfast as Prime Minister, saying Brexit should not mean a return to border controls. Prince Harry reveals he wishes he'd opened up sooner about his mother's death.
I really regret not ever talking about it, you know, for the first 28 years of my life, never talked about it.
And meet Jack, the 7-year-old golfer being tipped for big things.
What next?
Ride the Cup, US Open and the Open.
Yeah, all of them?
Yeah.
No big deal?
Yeah.
Do you think you can do it?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. He got rich on the profits of a high street giant and left it on life support with thousands of jobs at risk. Those were the criticisms levelled by MPs today at Sir Philip Green, the former boss of BHS. One of the MPs who led the inquiry into the store's collapse said Sir Philip plundered the company and should not only lose his knighthood, he should also write a multi-million-pound cheque to cover the huge cuts to staff pensions. Here's Catherine Jones.
The king of retail, they used to call him. Now Sir Philip Green has a new label, branded the unacceptable face of capitalism by 2 Commons committees. In one of their most scathing reports ever, MPs conclude bad business decisions and personal greed led to the demise of BHS. Sir Philip's systematic plunder, leaving the firm on life support by the time he sold it last year.
Sir Philip Green, who got his knighthood on the basis of being king of retail, which showed that he was totally not up to the task actually before him. And it wasn't a clapped-out business. He made it a clapped-out business, and it's collapsed around him, and his reputation has collapsed with it.
I could be a murderer, the way they're writing about me. I can't deal with this. That's a ridiculous statement. Could you, sir, do you mind not looking at me like that all the time?
Today's report follows Sir Philip's testy appearance before MPs last month when he refused to accept any blame.
There's certainly no intent at all on my part.
But MPs found Sir Philip and his family had extracted £400 million from BHS and then concealed its problems from the former bankrupt he sold the firm to, this scribbled balance sheet presenting the finances as healthy. 13 months later, BHS collapsed with a black hole in its pension fund of almost £600 million, a mess Sir Philip has promised to fix.
It's resolvable, sortable, we will sort it, we will find a solution.
The union fighting for the 33,000 BHS employees and pensioners wants Sir Philip held to his word.
2 promises he made. First one was to make the pension deficit correct. He said, and that will be announced in the next 2 weeks. And he also said, and his words were, I'll re-employ the blameless staff back into the Arcadia business. And we're still waiting 5 weeks on for him actually to deliver on these promises.
20 stores closed their doors for the last time on Saturday. All the rest, 144 shops, will shut down within a month. Yet the staff and those depending on a BHS pension to support them in their retirement are no closer to knowing what their future holds.
So, Catherine, what's been the government's response to Sir Philip Green?
Well, Theresa May, standing on the steps of Downing Street for the first time, said she wanted to reform capitalism to make it work for everyone, not the privileged few. And already she has 2 reports on this very topic on her desk. This one today, and remember last week at Sports Direct was criticised by MPs for its Victorian working practices. So unsurprisingly, the government coming out strongly saying there's a pledge to take a careful look at business policy and to learn lessons for the future. So although the most intense speculation today has been about whether Sir Philip Green might keep his knighthood and how much of a cheque he might write for the pension fund, actually the government's response is going to have to be far-reaching and wide-ranging.
Catherine, thank you. Police in Germany say a Syrian man who blew himself up outside a restaurant in the town of Ansbach had pledged allegiance to the leader of so-called Islamic State. The 27-year-old detonated his explosives after being turned away from a music festival. 15 people were injured, but authorities say his bomb had the potential to kill many more. As Warren Nettleford reports, it's emerged he was facing deportation.
Ambulances were rapidly dispatched following an explosion in this small Bavarian town. 15 people were injured and the bomber killed by the device. More than 2,500 people were evacuated from this nearby music festival soon after. We now know a 27-year-old Syrian man who was carrying a rucksack tried to make his way into the festival, but he didn't have a ticket. German security officials have now revealed the attacker had pledged allegiance to Islamic State and bomb-making materials were found at his home. A link to international terrorism and the so-called Islamic State can't be ruled out any more than him being unstable, or a combination of both. We should now let the security authorities do their work. This latest attack comes in a devastating week for Germany, which has experienced several shocking acts of violence, matched only by demonstrations of solidarity by citizens. A German schoolboy gunned down 9 at a fast food restaurant in Munich on Friday. A mentally ill man killed 1 and injured several others on a train last Tuesday. The authorities are keen to stress they are not all linked to Islamic extremism or the migrant crisis. And those monitoring the public mood in Germany say most still support the government's approach.
I think there is a certain fear just because you've had so many attacks in a really short time. But I think the majority of German people are able to differentiate and are able to talk about what happened. And there is still a lot of sympathy out there. And I think the majority of German people also still support the refugee policy.
The attacker, who still hasn't been named, arrived in Germany 2 years ago and was housed here after his asylum claim was refused. Whilst armed officers in Ansbach make their presence felt, investigators continue looking for clues. Warren Nettleford, 5 News.
A murder investigation is taking place after a man was killed at a party in Surrey. One person suffered serious injuries in what's thought to be a shooting incident at a house in Headley. Police have arrested 2 people, one of them on suspicion of murder. Detectives investigating the attempted abduction of a serviceman in Norfolk say one of the suspects is likely to have suffered a visible facial injury after being headbutted by the victim. They say 2 men of Middle Eastern appearance tried to grab the serviceman outside RAF Marham, but he managed to fight them off. Theresa May says nobody wants to see a return to the borders of the past between Northern Ireland and the Republic, as she made her first visit to Belfast since becoming Prime Minister. She says with the UK leaving the EU and the Republic staying in, there would have to be some kind of border, but she promised to help find a way that would work for everybody. From the city of Newry, Dominic Reynolds reports.
52.50. Inside Declan's one till are 2 kinds of currency. Pounds for the Brits, euros for the Irish. We're 10 minutes from the UK's international border with Ireland, but the reality is people slip in and out so freely they barely notice it.
Huge fear. What are we going to do now?
Declan's been worried ever since he woke up to the Brexit vote a month ago.
60% of the population of Ireland live within 1 hour of Newry, where you stand here. We are 5 miles from the border, and if 5 miles from here my hinterland is cut in half, then my business will suffer and will make life very, very difficult for me.
This meeting with Arlene Foster and Martin McGuinness is the start of what might be the toughest item on Theresa May's to-do list. She's said Brexit will mean Brexit, but neither of her hosts wants it to mean borders.
We've had a common travel area between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland many years before either country was a member of the European Union. Nobody wants to return to the borders of the past. What we do want to do is to find a way through this that is going to work, deliver a practical solution for everybody.
Over the other side, and when you enter our country from Ireland, it's a blink and you'll miss it border. Well, the speed limit just changed from kilometres into miles an hour, but other than that, you really wouldn't know that you've just entered the UK. The question for Theresa May now is how much that experience changes once the Irish border becomes the edge of the EU. For decades, you really couldn't miss it. During the Troubles, the border and how it was policed was part of a tense political conversation. Could bringing it back stir up old arguments?
Is there going to be people patrolling on the borders? If you want to go up and get something from the shops up the north or just go shopping, do you need to have your passport with you?
Lots of questions.
Lots of questions, yeah, and no answers. That's the hard part of it.
Yeah, I don't want it like it was before.
Why not?
It was awkward. Yeah, just awkward, that was all, you know. Inconvenient.
For a long time, this place was in the middle of a conflict. Now it's in a conundrum. Taking back border control was a big part of the Brexit vote. So how do you do that without sending this place back in time? Dominic Reynolds, 5 News in Newry, Northern Ireland.
Scotland's First Minister has outlined her next steps in attempting to secure the country's position in Europe a month on from the Brexit vote. Nicola Sturgeon listed 5 key interests she will seek to protect during the coming months' negotiations and said the upheaval of Brexit means independence might be the best option for Scotland.
If we find that our interests can't be protected in a UK context, independence must be one of those options, and Scotland must have the right to consider that option.
Nicola Sturgeon, still to come on the programme. Prince Harry talks about his own grief as he continues his work with a mental health charity. The new England manager tells us he is the right man for the job.
I'm here because I think I can make the team better, and I think I'm tough enough to take it. So bring it on, eh, lads?
And the 7-year-old golfer being compared to Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. All that and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Prince Harry says he regrets that he didn't talk about the death of his mother until just a few years ago. He was speaking about bereavement at an event for a mental health charity that he, William and Kate helped set up. Diana, Princess of Wales, died when he was just a boy, but Harry says he couldn't discuss it for most of his life. Layla Hayes reports.
Hosting a barbecue for high-profile sports stars, Prince Harry said he regrets not talking about his mother's death. He told former England captain Rio Ferdinand, whose wife died from cancer last year, he wished he'd opened up sooner.
I've got a friend's friend who wanted to introduce me to his 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, and their mum committed suicide. They're now in the process of starting asking questions. You know, where's mummy? All this sort of stuff. And he just said, look, I just literally want them to meet you, because they've started asking questions, going, what's going to happen to us when we get older? We haven't got a mum. And I literally, we didn't even talk about it. We just sat down and had a laugh. And he just said to me, he goes, look, you know, there you go. There's a classic example of someone who, you know, has managed to. He's normal. He's normal, exactly. And that's all they want to know is, okay, fine. But Christ, you know, I really regret not ever talking about it. You know, for the first 28 years of my life, never talked about it.
Harry's mother Diana died in a car crash when the Prince was just 12. Working with the mental health charity Heads Together, he now wants to encourage others to talk about their problems.
It's not weakness. Weakness is, I believe weakness is realising an issue in yourself and not sorting it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, obviously one of the biggest issues is actually realising it in yourself anyway. Yeah. Especially with something like, you know, depression and anxiety, you start to feel as though there's something going on.
Yeah, exactly.
But unless someone tells you what anxiety actually is, how the hell are you supposed to know?
At the barbecue, Harry played French cricket with 8-year-old Jack Belton. He was invited because his football club offers emotional support to young players.
What was it like meeting a real prince?
Really exciting, and I was really happy.
Did anyone say you looked a bit like him?
Yeah.
Prince Harry says he regrets not talking about his mother's death, but he's determined to make sure anyone with mental health issues finds the courage to speak up. Layla Hayes, 5 News.
Authorities in Spain say they've recorded their first case of a baby being born with a defect that's connected to the Zika virus. The outbreak in the Americas has caused widespread concern. A hospital official in Catalonia says the mother was diagnosed with Zika in May and decided to keep the baby. A 14-year-old and an 18-year-old have been shot dead at a nightclub in Florida in what police say was not an act of terrorism. 16 other people were injured in the attack in Fort Myers at a club reportedly holding an event for teenagers. Detectives are questioning 3 people. 7 swimmers from Russia have been banned from competing at the Rio Olympics because of the country's doping violations. Last week, the International Olympic Committee decided not to impose a blanket ban on athletes, instead leaving the governing body of each sport to rule on individual cases. And more than 1,600 firefighters are trying to stop huge wildfires that are spreading near Los Angeles. The fires are now said to be covering around 33,000 acres after being fueled by high winds and dry ground. 1 person has been killed. A number of communities have been evacuated. Now, he's known as Big Sam, and today the New England manager insisted he is qualified for the biggest job in English football. In his first press conference as boss, Sam Allardyce, whose CV isn't exactly glittering, said it would be the greatest challenge of his career, but he can make the team better. His words, "Bring it on, lads." Peter Lane was there.
His first autographs as England manager.
Thank you.
His first photo op in the job he's calling the biggest challenge of his career. Sam Allardyce was originally turned down for the England job a decade ago and says he never got the chance to go right to the top in club football. So, after a long wait, he's now in the hot seat.
I'm here because I think I can make the team better, and I think I'm tough enough to take it. So bring it on, eh, lads?
How do you personally shake off the shadow of not getting the job 10 years ago? If you weren't good enough then, what's changed?
I was good enough then. So
why didn't you get the job then?
So I don't know. Perhaps it's political. I don't know.
So no top job on his CV, but Sam Allardyce would highlight taking Notts County to promotion, steering Bolton into the Premier League, saving Blackburn from relegation, guiding West Ham back up to the top flight, and most recently saving Sunderland from the drop. But football writers know Big Sam wants to outgrow that past.
He feels that he's always been overlooked, that he's been unfairly judged. This is his chance, this is his big shot to prove that he's not what maybe football has tagged him as, that he's not just the man who takes over at relegation-threatened clubs, that he can do a big job, and this is the biggest job.
This summer, he also proved his dance floor prowess. So what would it take to see moves like this on the touchline?
Well, obviously being successful, not just qualifying for the World Cup, hopefully eventually, but going as far as we possibly can.
A maybe then from the man who insists England's players have the passion they need and that he has the management skills to bring out their best. Peter Lane, 5 News.
And if Big Sam needs sporting inspiration, why not take a look at young golfer Jack Durkin? At 7 years old, he's already being mentioned in the same breath as Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. And now he's about to get the chance to test his talent against the world's best juniors. Minnie Stevenson went to join him for a practice.
A reigning golfing champion no opponent wants to meet, with his sights set on one day winning the Open. Ranked in the top 40 globally, and guess what? Jack Durkin is only 7, which is why he's the UK #1 for his age. But why stop there? Jack's off to crack America. Yes, this week, the golfing stars flying to the US for the Junior Championships stateside. But first, he's bravely meeting a complete beginner on the golf course.
Don't forget to stop.
Stop.
That button.
That's fine, we're going up here, don't worry. You've already hit the dizzy heights at 7 years old.
Yeah.
What next?
Ride the Cup, US Open and the Open.
Yeah, all of them?
Yeah.
No big deal?
Yeah.
Do you think you can do it?
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
Jack's dad, Chris, told me he's become quite the caddy daddy, having spotted his son's talent at around 13 months old.
I went to a toy shop and bought a plastic set of golf clubs and took him on the field, and he was absolutely whacking all the balls, and that's kind of how we started, really.
Did you think that was quite amazing at that point? It must have been quite a surreal moment.
Yeah, it was noticeable that he was hitting the ball consistently. I think that was the key.
As Jack's star continues to rise, coaches have already compared his talent to a young Rory McIlroy. A perfect excuse to show you this. With others even saying his style is like a junior Tiger Woods. You're going to America to play golf?
Yeah.
Are you nervous? Are you excited?
Nervous.
Are you? Do you think you can win?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what you need, that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
And seeing as I've only ever really played crazy golf, Jack is about to take on one of his biggest challenges yet, teaching me how to hit the ball. Are you ready, Jack?
Yeah.
It's going to be a killer shot. Ah.
That's okay.
That's all right? What would you give that out of 10?
8.5.
I think he's being a bit generous. Oh dear. I think we'll leave being a golfing prodigy to this 7-year-old star. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
Look at that. Now, before we go, Julian's here to tell us what's coming up on 5 News tonight. Hello, Julian.
Hi, Sian. Yes, we'll have more on your lead story this evening, that scathing report into the collapse of BHS and the role played by this man. MPs say Sir Philip Green ran the company into the ground, taking money out of it to bolster his own fortune. So should he be stripped of his knighthood? We'll hear what a top business group thinks. And this is the athletes' village for the Rio Games next month. It looks good. So why are Australia's athletes refusing to move in? All of that at 6:30.
We'll see you then. Thank you very much. That is it for now. From here, though, Sian Welby has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Julian, of course, back at 6:30. Thanks for watching tonight. Goodbye for now.